Residents lined up for the microphone at the March 29th Board of Selectmen meeting, asking questions and addressing concerns. The details ahead.
Plus, we get the scoop from the town's recreation director on open space and recreation facilities. Learn how you can get involved in the process.
Also coming up, highlights from the Charter Commission's public forum.
And later, ELCAT sits down with William Arment, one of the final candidates running for Board of Selectmen. The story ahead and much more on ELCAT News Update.
Good evening, I'm Rebecca Green.
And I'm Courtney Ingalls.
We begin tonight with the March 29th Board of Selectmen meeting. The board allowed audience members to take the stand and address the board with any questions, comments, and concerns. Residents asked for clarification on the police chief's position.
Well, I think we can get a police chief at a better rate, because when you look at a budget for $377,000, which caught my eye, and 155 of that is going for 5 police officers, there's something wrong. That's what I looked into it.
Don't you think that our budget is high just because, as I've been led to believe, that we have 3 police officers that are in active duty, and that's why there's overtime?
Yes, and let me tell you something. I've been here 2 years almost,
Yeah.
right? The police chief has never asked, since I've been here, I don't know about before, has never asked for an extra police officer because of the budget. The only ones that we gave him were the ones that when someone retired and a patrolman was made a sergeant, we backfilled for that sergeant. That's the only time.
Why would he ask if he's got men that just can't do their job right now because they're serving our country? So why he can't fire those men?
No,
he
you're
can't
right.
replace those
They're all
men.
back.
Okay, but at that time, you're complaining about what has happened in the past as well about the budget. You've been here for 2 years complaining about these things.
No, ma'am. That just happened. Those guys that serve the country were here since I've been here. They serve their country. They're all back.
Right,
And I understand you need overtime to fill their
That's right.
slots. I'm talking about extra patrolmen. If he needs 5 extra patrolmen, I've been glad to give them to him if he asked me. But he never asked the board since I've been here for any extra patrolmen, because if that's one way to get the overtime down, I would definitely do it.
Back in February, the Board of Selectmen chose 5 residents out of 17 applicants to serve on a police chief search committee. The committee announced their 3 final candidates. However, 2 of those 3 candidates dropped out. The search committee then gave a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to stop the search. At the Tuesday, March 29th Board of Selectmen meeting, residents asked why the search committee's recommendation was not taken into account.
We didn't ask for a recommendation from the search committee. What the search committee was charged with was to give us 3 candidates, 3 finalists. And they gave us the 3 finalists.
And they did not give you a final recommendation to stay with Chief Mellis?
They gave us, yes, they did.
And you chose to ignore that?
That's not what they were charged with.
More on the police chief's position. Selectman Billy Gorman made a motion on March 16th to appoint Jeffrey DeLessio as the town's police chief. However, on March 29th, Gorman announced that nothing was set in stone since the contract was still under the process of negotiation.
Selectman Gorman and Mr. Neffinger, you indicated that you're negotiating with the potential police chief and his attorney. You didn't reference whether or not we have legal counsel involved?
Yes, I'd like to answer that. We did contact our labor attorney about the chief police contract. Our labor attorney gave us a sample contract to use as a guide. We've also been looking at the town of Long Meadow, the town of Wilbraham, and the town of Greenfield for their language also. We brought that together and we gave that to the Sergeant DeLessio. Sergeant DeLessio gave it to his attorney. He made some edits to that contract, and we're discussing those edits right now.
Okay, but will we have, before any contract is signed, outside legal counsel
I also
review?
spoke to our town council. We spoke yesterday, and I said that we are working on a contract, and I will be giving it to him because his signature will be on it. as a town accountant's signature and 2 selectmen's or hopefully 3 selectmen's signatures, but we did speak, Attorney Donahue and I spoke, and he will be reviewing the contract.
The police chief's position was the main focus at that meeting, but the board also discussed other items on the agenda, such as updates from Fire Chief Paul Morrissette.
We started our extended coverage on February 7th. That Sunday. For the 23 days of February, the new schedule took effect. The department responded to a total of 62 incidents. February is a very busy month for us. One of the things that's kind of interesting, though, 51 of those calls, or 82% of those incidents, were handled during the daytime shift. So it kind of was a little higher than projected. Again, that was a very busy month for us. I anticipate the total number of calls will drop per month, and actually March is almost over, and they have. At this point in March, we are at a total 30 calls for the month, so we're less than half. Okay. Of the remaining incidents, were handled with all calls or on duty, either on all calls or group calls. So that's where some of the overtime came into effect. If you average out the calls that were all calls, the cost was about $420 per call. So if you take the savings of the 23 days that we handled those 33 incidents, it's roughly a $13,000 estimated savings.
Another item covered on the agenda was from Health Agent Amy Petrowski. For the past 3 years, the company JBI has conducted mosquito spraying for the town. JBI helicopter services will set up at center field and conduct aerial spraying called BTI. BTI is a biocontrolled product that is non-toxic to humans, pets, and other animals, according to the CDC. The application will cover about 1,000 acres of the town's wetlands, which are considered to be prime breeding sites for mosquitoes. We'll keep you updated on when you should expect to see these helicopters in town.
Moving forward, the Charter Commission hosted a public forum on Thursday, March 31st.
So what I'm going to do here tonight, I got a quick presentation. I'm going to try to run through this. We want to leave as much time as we can for questions. So the voters elect the town council. The town council appoints a town manager. The town manager supervises the Department of Finance, the Department of Community Development, the Department of Public Works, Police, Fire, IT, all those others, and then also the appointed boards and committees.
We're going from elected board members that the people of East Long Meadow elect to this town manager, who may not be a resident, will elect his friends or people that he wants in these particular positions who may have outside interests into these boards. And is it true that these board members also do not have to be residents of the town of East Long Meadow? So we will have people who are not residents of this town, not elected by this town, controlling this town. You realize what that means? Is that true, sir?
No, it's not.
Why not?
We didn't put in there that they can be residents from out of town.
Yes, it says may be a resident of East Long Meadow, which means they may not be.
For the boards?
Yes, for the boards.
Just a question.
Someone needs to clarify. That's my question, too. Current general bylaws of the town do not require, other than the elected positions, to be residents of the town. And so since 1894, when the town was formed, we've had general bylaws that do not have any residence requirement for any other than the elected officials. So we have probably hundreds of appointed officials in town. The state law says that there is no residency requirement unless the board or individual appointing that person makes it a requirement, and if so, within a certain period of time. This town has occasion, on 2 occasions, I believe, that a member of the Cultural Affairs Committee was to be appointed who was a non-resident of town. By a specific state law, that cannot be done. It has to be a town resident. But I believe there was an appointment to the Council on Aging of a non-East Long Meadow resident.
Were they elected?
No, appointed.
By who?
appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Okay, so for elected officials, yes, you have to be a registered voter, a citizen within the
Correct.
town. But all appointed positions, there's no requirement now, and the charter merely mirrors that in the future.
The reconsideration of the charter, Attorney Levine, you touched on it. If it doesn't pass, but it can be reconsidered within 2 years, one of the prior speakers was saying, you said something about shelving it. Does that mean there can be changes to the charter and then we can vote on it again in 2 years, or it has to be the same exact as presented? Do you know?
Has to be the same. Has to be the same.
Has to be the same exact.
Under that rule.
Within the 2 years. So the only other way to do this is to go through the whole.
No, okay.
Okay, that's all I'm asking the question.
There are two procedures you can do, depending on the number of the percentage. Oh, sorry. The percentage voting, if it was 35% voting in favor, and then subsequent that 10% of the voters petition who voted during that election, then the selectmen could put it on the ballot in the same form no later than 2 years after. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. In the alternative, scrap that procedure, regardless of what percentage voted in favor of it. You could start this whole process all over again, and you could do that, but you would have to do that at the election box, just like we were.
But first through petition article? Would it be go through the whole petition process again, as this charter was?
Yes, just like last
How many signatures was that?
1,500, 1,800, something like that.
So in order to reconsider anything other than this document, we have to go through the whole entire process that hasn't been done, and when was the last time we actually did that process?
10 years ago.
2000.
Was that a petition?
It was the same process that we're going through now.
Okay. So 10 years maybe, we might look at it again, without going through this whole process. The only way we can do this in 2 years is if we look at this document again. Or get the 1,500 signatures and go through the charter process again. Okay, so highly unlikely. So this is it, folks. We have this or what we have today. That's it.
The Charter Commission's public forums serve as a resource for residents to better understand the charter before they see it on the ballot at the April 12th local town election. Residents will also vote between the two final candidates running to serve on the Board of Selectmen. ELCAT talks to one of the final candidates, William Arment.
I think that right now our town has lost faith in its government, and we're making a mockery of our own town. It's embarrassing to say you're from East Long Meadow now for some reason, and that's not how it ever was the whole time I grew up in this town. I'm proud to be from here, and I want to help restore that faith. People need to make educated decisions on this town. Going in and just voting off the cuff without reading the articles on the charter specifically, obviously, is the big one here. I think people could vote either way, but you should make an educated decision, not just vote yes or no because it's the last sign you saw.
It's time for our weekly segment, Library Learning, where we let you know what events are coming up next at the East Long Meadow Public Library. First up, Writers Group. Writers Group is a monthly drop-in workshop for those who are seeking support or just a relaxing place to write. The workshop is conducted by Emily Savin, Director of Amherst Writers and Artists. The workshop takes place on April 9th at 10:30 a.m. in the library conference room. Don't forget to bring your pen and paper.
Next up, Great Decisions. This is for those who follow world events and are interested in politics and foreign policy. Great Decisions is a discussion group that meets monthly, discussing a different topic each meeting. This month's topic, the future of Kurdistan. The group meets Tuesday, April 12th at 6 p.m. in the library community room.
Lastly, an event that will kick off your weekend with Will Smith. The library is hosting a movie matinee with the 2015 drama Concussion. The incredible movie is based on a true story about pathologist Dr. Bennett Amalu, played by Will Smith, who dedicates his career on uncovering the truths about brain damage. The event takes place on Friday, April 15th at 1 p.m. in the library community room. To register for these events, sign up at the circulation desk or visit the library's website.
Another website that is helpful to residents is the town's website. East Long Meadow's Open Space and Recreation Committee are providing residents to share their individual needs and concerns regarding open space and recreation facilities through a survey. That survey is located on the town's website. According to Recreation Director Colin Drury, it's extremely important for residents to get involved. The data gathered from the survey will allow the committee to submit the results along with other documents to qualify for state reimbursement programs and grants.
The Open Space and Recreation Plan is something that needs to be filed with our state every single 5 years. When I came to the town, we actually hadn't had an updated plan since the year 2000. And what that does for me is it kind of puts a barrier in front of me for writing grants or possibly getting like special programs from the state for our town. Ralph Page from the planning board, myself from the commission, Gordon Smith, from the schools, we kind of got everyone involved to create the newest open space and recreation plan.
Currently, the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is assisting the committee. The committee did receive a grant to start the process. However, the committee cannot do it alone.
Getting people from our town to give us the information on what they enjoy, what they want to do. Are they into hiking? Are they into horseback riding? Do they want more sports fields? What do they want? Do they just want a park bench? Survey is kind of the tool to get us that information, to have town input, so when we're putting together this document for the state, then they'll really understand what we're trying to do in East Long Meadow.
The survey is currently online and will be closed on June 1st. After the data is calculated, how soon will the community see the changes?
The new open space and recreation plan, our goal is to file it this upcoming fall, where all the results will be inside the plan, and you'll see themes inside the plan that are based on the results that we're getting now. So it's nice to kind of see what our constituents and our citizens really want to see.
The survey is open for all ages. To clarify, the survey acts as an opportunity for residents to share what changes, improvements, and even protection for what land they want to see preserved.
Generational data is important to reaching the people that you really want to reach. So understanding what a senior citizen wants as opposed to a new parent, and being able to serve both of those groups is important. So looking at the different percentages and finding out exactly what our town needs is really kind of one of the biggest things with the open space and rec plan. So if someone really doesn't want to see any more construction in the town of East Long Meadow, they can note that. And that can be a theme inside the open space and recreation plan, is to, if any land becomes available, for the town to protect it from being turned into the next development. Or if any land becomes available, it could be the new home to a community center as opposed to a neighborhood. So really, we want them to be critical on what they want in our open space in town.
Head over to eastlongmeadowma.gov to let your voice be heard.
If you're looking for more involvement with the town, the Council on Aging is hosting their monthly program, Compassion and Kindness Endeavor. The program invites a different organization each month for seniors and volunteers the opportunity to give back. This month's project will be for the Bethlehem House of East Hampton to help new moms who are in need of supplies for their newborns. Participants will be at stations sewing bibs. If you don't know how to sew, you can still get involved by donating fabrics, helping out with other projects, or assisting with care packages. The program takes place on Friday, April 8th at 1 p.m. at the Council on Aging. Before we end, don't forget to get out and vote. The local town election takes place on Tuesday, April 12th at Birchland Park Middle School. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that will do it for us tonight on this edition of ELCAT News Update.
Be sure to watch meetings on demand at our ELCAT YouTube channel, ELCAT 01028. Follow us on Facebook and watch us on cable channel 191. I'm Rebecca Green.
And I'm Courtney Ingalls. Until next time, good night.